Why do we grant people with power, influence, and status so much grace? Why do we assume virtue, competence, or intelligence simply because someone appears wealthy, authoritative, or important? Public opinion may finally be shifting against the rich and powerful, but for most of modern history, they've been granted extraordinary social leniency. That's the question I want to explore today, and the journey is worth the ride. There's a well documented social phenomenon called status camouflage. Traditionally, it refers to the strategic hiding, downplaying, or reshaping of one's status markers, behavioral, linguistic, cultural, or emotional, to avoid stigma or navigate hierarchies safely. It's a subtype of social camouflaging and impression management, supported by research on masking, stigma management, and social performance, in which individuals usually try to mask their lower social status origins as they become more socially mobile, upwardly mobile, sorry. But I want to propose a related term, high status camouflage, a sort of inverse form of classic status camouflage. Instead of people hiding low status, this version describes how high status signals create a protective cloak, a kind of social invisibility shield that discourages scrutiny, suspicion, or challenge. It's not yet a standardized term, but it is conceptually precise and increasingly used in sociological and psychological analysis. High status acts as a camouflage field. People with high status markers such as wealth, credentials, elite networks, polished speech, expensive clothing routinely receive presumed competence, trustworthiness, and moral character. They are scrutinized less, doubted less, and forgiven more. It isn't imagination. It's one of the most replicated findings in social psychology. This effect aligns with the halo effect: authority bias, credibility excess, authority heuristics, symbolic capital, and elite impunity, some of which I've done videos on and some of which I'm working on. But all of these show how high status cues distort judgment. So, why does high status camouflage wrongdoing or incompetence? There are several mechanisms behind elite camouflage. The halo effect is a cognitive bias in which one positive trait, such as attractiveness, confidence, or warmth, creates a sort of halo that makes us assume other positive qualities. A single favorable impression colors our entire judgment, leading us to see someone as intelligent or trustworthy without evidence. Authority bias is the tendency to treat a person's statements as more credible simply because they hold a position of authority. People defer to doctors, executives, police, or other high status figures even when their claims are weak or unverified. Credibility excess occurs when high status individuals are granted more trust, believability, and benefit of the doubt than their behavior warrants. Their claims are scrutinized less, their intentions are assumed to be good, and their reputations allowed to substitute for the evidence. Symbolic capital is the power gained from being widely recognized as legitimate or prestigious. Titles, credentials, lineage, and institutional associations become social credit that can be converted into influence and protection. Elite impunity arises when power is concentrated in a small, organized minority who control the institutions responsible for oversight. This structural arrangement shields high status actors from consequences and allows misconduct to persist. Cultural scripts of competence are the invisible narrative societies use to decide who looks competent before they've demonstrated skill. People who match the dominant script, confidence, certain speech patterns, particular dress, racialized expectations, and so forth, are granted trust and opportunity automatically. Those who don't must repeatedly prove themselves just to reach baseline credibility. Together, these mechanisms create a cognitive shield. Most people simply don't look closely at someone who seems like the type who knows what they're doing. This is why white collar criminals, abusive executives, and predatory philanthropists often operate for years without challenge. The elite version of status camouflage, if we define it clearly, is that elite status camouflage is the phenomenon in which high status cues cause observers to overlook, excuse, or fail to question harmful or incompetent behavior. Research on elite impunity, symbolic capital, credibility excess, and moral licensing all support this conclusion. Status doesn't just signal competence, it actively camouflages the absence of it. This explains why abusive doctors, priests, or CEOs go unchallenged, why financial elites run frauds for decades, why respectable predators evade suspicion, why charismatic leaders accumulate unearned trust, why institutions protect high status insiders. High status individuals become less questioned, less supervised, less doubted, less suspected, more forgiven, and more believed. Their status camouflages their behavior. Predators rely on status camouflage. Predators don't just hide behind charm or confidence, they hide behind status clues. This creates a cognitive blind spot around them. They become the last person anyone suspects. Common status-based camouflage tactics include prestige signaling, such as expensive clothes, elite jobs, polished speech, institutional affiliations, churches, schools, nonprofits, medical roles, reputation management, philanthropy, volunteering, public kindness, charm offensives, charisma, humor, warmth, gatekeeping roles such as coaches, mentors, and bosses, and network insulation, surrounding themselves with loyalists. Predators exploit predictable human biases. People don't want to believe good or important people do bad things. People fear social consequences for accusing someone high status. Institutions protect their own reputations. Victims fear they won't be believed, often correctly. Bystanders assume someone else would have noticed. This is why predators gravitate towards roles where status is built in. Clergy, doctors, teachers, executives, coaches, community leaders. Predators don't just hide behind status, they manufacture it. Status is not a coincidence, it is a strategy. They build a persona that functions like camouflage: polished, competent, generous, respectable, indispensable. The more good they appear, the more invisible their predation becomes.